Today we're taking a look at one of the most unanticipated, surprising releases of the year, and that is Discmania's new Q-Line plastic. In specific, we're taking a look at the Q-Line DD3, commemorating Gannon Buhr's big win at the World Championships earlier this year. Now, Discmania is marketing the Q-Line plastic as being one of their strongest plastics yet, but more importantly, they're also saying that they are redistributing some of the mass of the disc from the flight plate to the rim. Now, you may be familiar with that concept because that's what MVP has been doing with their overmold discs. So I'm really curious to see how Discmania's new Q-Line plastic flies. Today we're gonna be throwing the DD3 all over the course. Should be a good time, so let's jump into it. So for the unacquainted, DD3 is Discmania's flagship driver mold, has the numbers 12.5, -1.3, some of the most iconic numbers in all of disc golf. And we're gonna start by letting it rip on a 405-foot par 3, wide open, basket is in the tree line. Don't really know what to expect out of this disc. Potentially more overstable because of that increased density on the rim. But we're just gonna go with this with an open mind, see how it plays out. A little bit of Annie, nice glide, and it's coming back. That's gonna be plenty of distance. That is going to be maybe circles edge putt, which I am pretty happy with. Now, because the Q-Line plastic is kind of mimicking the overmold effect of MVP's discs, we're gonna be taking a look at the time lapse as well. This is one of the retooled ones with numbers 12.5, -1.2. Should be a pretty fair comparison. Put that on quite a bit of Annie. It's fighting back at the end. Feels like a similar flight. Definitely more anhyzer on that throw than our DD3. Compensating for the overstability on both those throws, but good distance all around with both. So very respectable distance for our DD3 here. I got U-disc up, we're measuring this, and it's coming out to 390. It's bouncing between 390 and 395, which not bad at all. Happy with that. And no bird for me. And now let's bust out the forehand. We got a 434-foot par 4, way to go forehand. Through this gap here, finish off to the right. Purely based off of that first throw, I can tell this DD3 has a good amount of overstability to it. The fact that it came out of that anhyzer angle with ease. Now, unfortunately, I don't own an S-Line DD3 to compare. I have thrown an S-Line DD3 plenty. I find that they tend to be on the understable side of the spectrum for a 12.5, -1.3 style distance driver. And I don't feel like that right off the bat with the Q-Line, but we'll do some more testing, see if that's the case. Oh yeah, there we go. Now my forehand is not the smoothest, so I rely on drivers for my forehand quite a bit, especially those overstable distance drivers, and this feels like it is right up my alley. Well, we got plenty of distance off that drive. Must either had a big skip or a big roll to get to this point. Leaves us with a pretty short chip shot for the bird. Get up there, skip up there. Yep, there we go. 650-foot par 4, bends off to the left, then to the right. Got to crest this hill. I want to throw this pretty flat and get to the left at the end of the flight. I think that'll really open up our upshot. Nice and flat, and you see that overstability. I mean, this is an overstable run of DD3. Now, thankfully, we did get left enough to skirt around this tree here. Basket is through this gap. It's still going to be a tough upshot here, but because we got plenty of distance, it's not a very long upshot. I think we're gonna go a little anhyzer flex on the backhand. No, not enough anhyzer. It's gonna come out early. Yeah, I am underestimating the overstability of this DD3. But we will be able to lay up for the par. And now we come to another forehand hole. This is a shorty, 210 feet, but we want something really overstable because you might be able to see the basket. It's tucked in on this tree line to the right. We have to go to the left of these two trees in the middle of the fairway, hang something out a little bit wide on the forehand, and we need something very overstable to get back, maybe get a little bit of a skip so that we can get inside of circle 1. This is all hyzer, just trying to get to the right. And because it is a distance driver, we're gonna go long of the basket here, but that is a fine place to be. Now, had we thrown a Firebird style disc with that lower glide, would have chopped off this end of the flight here, probably would have been a lot closer to the basket. But this DD3 has plenty of glide. I mean, that first distance shot we did with it really showcased that good glide, and on this shot, which was all hyzer. Really easy to get out here. And we cash the bird. Now let's take a minute and talk plastic, because there's a few things that make the Q-Line plastic pretty unique. Number one, the first thing I noticed when I took it out of the box is that the rim of the disc is super stiff, like a lot stiffer than most discs. Now, Discmania has said that they've redistributed up to 10% of the mass into the rim of the disc. Up to 10% is a pretty imprecise value, so it's hard to really say how much of a departure it is from your typical Discmania disc. But the rim being noticeably more stiff than an average disc definitely tracks for being denser. And to go along with that, we also got a C-Line disc here. This is a C-Line FD. It's got a fun little die on it. I will say the C-Line feels and looks a lot different than the Q-Line plastic. The Q-Line plastic actually looks a lot like Discmania's Neo plastic that they use for their Evolution line. And when I compare the Q-Line to the C-Line, they have a similar level of stiffness, but the C-Line plastic is stiff all the way through. Like even the flight plate feels like the same stiffness as the rim of the disc, whereas the Q-Line plastic, despite the rim being really stiff, that flight plate is still very soft, very easy to bend. And the fact that this Q-Line plastic doesn't really look at all like C-Line or S-Line plastic really surprises me. I figured they would just take C-Line or S-Line plastic and redistribute some of the weight around. Definitely not the case here. This is a whole new plastic blend. Discmania hasn't really revealed a lot of details yet about the plastic, so hopefully we learn more at some point, maybe. And now we have a 378-foot par 3, water all on the left. It is very easy to accidentally lose a disc on this hole, which is why I don't usually include it in my videos, but you know what? I have total faith in the DD3. We will have to definitely put it on some anhyzer on the backhand to make sure that we don't fade out early. We want to miss to the right. If we have to miss, that is the safe option. So that's exactly what we're gonna do if I execute this well. And put that on a lot of anhyzer, and it's still gonna come out of that. Had to throw it kind of high to get over all this brush on the left, but that's gonna set us up for a very easy par. And now we're just gonna be able to do a pretty simple inner core upshot. Kind of been sneaky loving the inner core lately. It's been one of my go-to backhand upshot discs. And that's gonna be real solid. And we're back to where it all began. I want to do one more good rip in just like an open field style hole. There's not enough holes on this course that are really suited for a distance driver, so we're resorting to replaying this hole. And that was all hyzer. I didn't put that on any anhyzer. Holds the hyzer really well though. And we get the big skip at the end. That looks pretty solid. It's coming out a little bit earlier than we wanted. That's going to be plenty far. And for the sake of comparison, we must compare to MVP Octane. This is my furthest flying disc by far. This is what I normally throw on this hole, so let's just see how it compares. Super understable. That was throwing a little bit of hyzer and it flips all the way up and over. Oh, that is mush. That's got to be at least 30 feet further than we just threw that DD3. DD3 we had to go anhyzer flex. Octane, hyzer flip to turnover to come back at the end. Both distance drivers, but both very different discs. Q-Line DD3, much more overstable. So dusk is approaching, which means I gotta hang up the discs. But my final thoughts on the Q-Line DD3 are that I like it. It's a very solid destroyer type distance driver. It's definitely on the overstable side. You definitely need that high arm speed to really see the true flight. Like me, I don't consider myself a really high arm speed player. I can throw over 400 feet, but for me to do that with the DD3, I need like a big anhyzer flex line, which isn't usually my preference. I would much prefer to be throwing on that hyzer angle, which is why I dislike my Fission Octane, which I can throw that on hyzer, still get that really far flying flight. Also, great stamp. Discmania been kind of hit or miss with their stamp game lately, but I very much like the Gannon Buhr ice theme that they always do for him. And they really showed up big time with the Q-Line World Championship Edition. Now, do I think the Q-Line plastic, as far as the mass density distribution, is that gonna make a big difference? In my opinion, it's a lot like MVP, where I totally believe in the science. I just feel like the real world application is kind of negligible. and really only visible if you're throwing at that top echelon of power. And even then, I don't really even think the pros would see a big enough distance to choose something like the Q-Line plastic or an MVP overmold disc for their distance driver over like a destroyer variant. So a lot to say. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. If you've tried any of the Q-Line discs yet, let me know down below what you thought of them. I know they're just kind of trickling out into the wild right now. I heard there was some like problems with the distribution, so some of them are delayed, which is a bummer. If you're someone who wants to try this Q-Line plastic, let me know if you're picking up the DD3 or the FD down below in the comments. You can also follow me on Instagram at Flying Fajita Disc Golf or UDisc Community at Flying Fajita. As always, guys, I love you. Take care. I'll see you next time.